Right guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're on the king of slow cookery. We're on beef brisket. Brisket can be can be an interesting cut of meat. It's if it's not cooked properly, it'll be a bit like chewing your own hands. But if you cook it properly, you get an amazing, tender, really flavoursome cut of beef here. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I've got a kilo of beef brisket, so we're cooking for 4 here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to seal my brisket in a frying pan. So I'm just getting a frying pan on the heat, and I've got my slow cooker turned on. We're on the low setting on the slow cooker. So I've bought my brisket. I bought my brisket from a local supplier. So all I'm doing with the netting is I'm just taking this off, ready for a seal. An amazing cut of meat. So it's from the chest of the cow, includes the pectoral muscles. So it is a tough old bit of meat. Oh, very nice. So first thing I'm going to do with the brisket is season it. So I'm just going to use some sea salt here. You could use any salt, but I like sea salt. I think it's got a better flavour. There we are. I'm going to be generous with the salt. There we are. You'll notice as well that I've got the pan heating. I want this pan absolutely smoking hot. As soon as the beef hits the pan, we're going to lose heat in that pan. So I want that pan absolutely smoking hot before I start doing anything, just to make sure that I colour this brisket. What I want is a real nice seal. I want a nice colour, and I want to start the Maillard reaction. You know, the browning of the meat, which will give it its flavour. So I'm going to seal the beef with just a little bit of. I'm using olive oil. I'd probably prefer to use vegetable oil. Doesn't really matter, but I'm going to use about a dessert spoon maybe of oil, and I'm just going to make sure that gets nice and hot. So when I lay this in, I'm looking for a sizzle. And to be honest with you, I probably prefer and want an even bigger sizzle than that, but that will do. I'm going to leave this sealing for probably 3-4 minutes each side, maybe even a bit more. Like I want a really nice deep brown colour on that each side. And while this is sealing, I'm going to get on with preparing some vegetables. So a rough chop on the veg will do just fine. So 1 onion, I'm using a large onion here. And all I'm going to do is just cut through the middle of the onion, through the root, through the top end. I'm going to take a tiny flap off of the top end and peel the skin back like so. There's a little bit of root. I want to keep the root on, keep the onion together, makes it easier for chopping, but lose the hair. So look, just a rough chop on the onion is fine. So I'm cutting it in 4 along the length. I think I'll probably just do it in 4 along the width like that. That is absolutely grand. Now to this, I'm going to add a few carrots. These are a bit of a mixed bag, I would say. I'm going to use 4. I don't know if you can see this, I've got fairly big hands anyway, but I've got a pretty big one. I've got a medium, I'd say a big one and 3 medium ones. I guess it all depends on how much you like carrot. If you like carrot a lot, put more carrot in. Here we are. I'm going to give these a peel. And you'll notice I've still not turned that beef. I've not done anything with my beef. I really want that colour to develop in that. I wish you could smell what we can smell here. And all I'm going to do with the carrots, I'm just going to top and tail them. Try and lose as little of the carrot as you can. And and chop it whatever way you want. Again, I'm going sort of chunky. I'm going to do mine a little bit fancy, Dan, but you don't have to. What I'm doing with mine is I'm just rotating the carrot like that. It gives some nice sort of little bit of shapes on them. You don't have to do that. You could do I'll do these ones. You could do it nice and simple like that if you wanted in rounds. Whatever works for you. So I'm just going to give this a wee check now and see. Oh, now, if you have a wee look at this, come here, Miles, get a load of this. Yeah, look at that. So that is what we're looking for. We're looking for that colour to develop in, and we're going to give it on this side now at least the same again, at least another 4 or 5 minutes. Want that beautiful golden brown colour on him. Okay. So while he's cooking on this side, I'm now going to wash and chop a couple of sticks of celery. There we are. So I've got quite a small head of celery here. So these celery stalks aren't very big. I'm going to use 3 of them. So celery, onion, carrot, leek. These are your staple flavour givers. You have to be very careful. You see, I'm washing the celery. You wanna run your fingers and wash it on the outside and on the inside there. You wanna make sure you get any muck out of the celery. When you've done that, all I'm gonna do is just top and tail it. And because I'm a silly chef, I can't help myself. I'm just gonna chop mine at a bit of an angle. Feel free to chop yours directly straight if you want. And so, I'm going to add some garlic. So, depends on how big your bulbs of garlic are, your cloves of garlic. I suppose it also depends on how much you like garlic. I like it quite a lot. So I'm going to go with, I've got one big fat bad boy. I've got another one. Yeah, and I'm going to go with a little one. There we go. As always, there'll be a recipe in the description. I think the most important thing about doing this cooking and what we're trying to achieve is, I guess, a little bit of demystifying. We're trying to cook in real time, warts and all, and sort of show you what we're doing. And sometimes there is a bit of ambiguity. How much garlic, how big are your garlic cloves, how big are your onions? You know, you're never going to cook with the same size onion twice. You're never going to have the same bit of garlic twice, you know. I'm going to chop the garlic. I'm not chopping it too finely, just a rough sort of chop on him. I'm going to go back and check that beef and see how he's doing. Oh, look at that. Nice bit of colour developing there. So look, I'm going to seal it. I'm going to seal it on this side as well. Just trying to get as much colour, as much caramelization as I can on there. So while that's sealing, I'm going to get I'm going to get the kettle boiled, and I'm going to get a beef stock on the go. I'm going to use one beef stock. I'm going to use one beef stock cube, and I'm going to use about 450 mils of boiling water. I quite often weigh my liquid as opposed to relying on a calibrated jug. This helps for when you don't have a calibrated jug, like now, and mine's been nicked. It also means it's more accurate. So 450 mils. Now I might not need all of that beef stock, but I want to make sure I've got enough beef stock here so that when I get the brisket and when I get the vegetables and the potatoes in the slow cooker, I've got enough to cover it. So what we're doing in this slow cooker today, we're braising, that's what we're doing. So, giving it a seal on that side, give them a seal on this side here. Well, you'll see this is the part that we started right at the beginning, and it's still going. So of all of the cooking, this is the bit that takes the longest. And we're not even doing the cooking here, all we're doing is colouring it. This is where induction is good. It is good, but nothing beats a big fat gas ring. So here we go. Could probably give that even more colour, but you know what? That will do. That's been my main life philosophy, I think. Here we go. So I'm going to put this in. I'm going to put it fat side up. Actually, it won't make a big difference either way. So I'm putting this into my slow cooker in the bottom. That's the first thing that's happening. Okay. I'm going to deglaze the pan now. So I've got some lovely beef juices in that pan, and I'm just using a cheap and cheerful. I've got a Cabernet Sauvignon here, so I'm not really a fan of cooking wines, you know, but I probably wouldn't invest too much money in a bottle of wine that I'm going to cook with. So I'm going to put, I don't know, look, this is a wee, what's this, 187 mils. I reckon I'm going to use about half of this. And I'm going to add a little bit of beef stock in here. So this beef stock that I prepared before, 450 mils of beef stock. In he goes. There we are. I'm not going to put quite all of it in because I only want to make sure I've got enough liquid to cover the beef and the vegetables here. So I'm holding back a little bit of beef stock just in case. So while that beef stock comes up to temperature in the pan, I'm going to add my onions and my carrots on top of my brisket. I'm going to add my celery. I'm going to add my garlic. I'm going to add a pinch of thyme and rosemary. If you've got fresh herbs to hand, please feel free to use those. I'd probably prefer to use fresh herbs, but dried herbs will work here. We'll still get some flavour in. So I've got the thyme, got the rosemary. So a pinch, that's probably quite a generous pinch there. I reckon that's probably best part of a teaspoon. I'm going to put in a couple of bay leaves. We're very lucky we've got a bay tree here in the back garden. Not everyone does. Dried bay leaves will be just fine. So I'm going to put in 2. You know what, I've got 3. I'll put 3 in, 2 or 3. And we're going to add some potatoes. So I've got baby potatoes here. I've just got a bag from the supermarket. I'm just putting them in whole as is. I think before I put them in, I just check. Sometimes they're a bit mucky. These are in good nick. They've usually been washed. So potatoes, in they go. And now we're gonna cover this. Just turn that beeping down. We're gonna cover that with that beef stock and with that red wine. And I am going to add that last little bit of beef stock here. Now when I press down on the beef, it is just and no more covered in the stock. That's all I need. I just need the beef covered in the stock. The vegetables will release liquid. The beef will continue to release liquid as well. And we're going to cook that now for 8 hours. Just leave it alone, 8 hours in there, and then we'll come back and we'll finish it. Right folks, so here we are, we're 8 hours later. This bad boy's been cooking for, well, most of the day. Oh, he's looking good. It's smelling good. So, I know that this is ready, and what you guys are looking for is when this brisket is like pulling apart just with a fork. So when we're ready like this, all we need to do is to drain the gravy off from the stock pot here, from the slow cooker, and we're going to thicken it up with some gravy granules. So we're just going to use some cheap and cheerful gravy granules here. But first off, I'm just going to take out the meat. So if you can see this, look at that. This is pulling as I take it out. There we are. I'll give this a wee strain into the bowl here So I've got the meat and the veg separate. If you're doing this at home, you probably wouldn't want to use a 2 colander system. But the main thing is, what I want is the cooking juices from this, all of the water and the beef stock that we put in earlier, and the red wine. I'm going to thicken that up with gravy granules, and I want to be able to keep the veg and everything separate here. So here we are. So my cooking juices are in the bowl, and I'm going to add, I think every time you make this, you'll probably end up with a slightly different amount of liquid in there. So I think the easiest way to go is, rather than give an exact quantity, like I think we are somewhere around about 2 tablespoons, but rather than focusing on doing that, I think if you add 1 dessert spoon at a time of gravy granules, I'm just using the Bisto here. We're not sponsored by Bisto or anything like that, but they're a pretty common one. Other gravy granules are available. So all I'm going to do is just add the gravy granules in, 1 spoon at a time, stir them through, and give it an opportunity to thicken, because we're working on the principle of we can always add more, but it's very hard to take it out again. So 1 spoon at a time, and we'll see this really thin sort of stock that this has been in start turning into a thicker gravy. Key thing is that you want something that's going to be a nice gravy sort of texture. You don't want something that's going to be watery. We're not looking to make a beef soup here. We want something that's going to be a nice sort of, not too thick a gravy, but definitely gravyish for the veg and the meat to sit in. Once I've got that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put my veg back in the pot. I'm going to pour my gravy over my veg. And then the meat, all we're going to do with the meat, look, just in this colander here, doesn't have to be in a colander, this could be easily on a plate, whatever you want. All we're going to do is just fork this meat apart like this. Look how tender this is. This is just with a fork. Here we are, just with a couple of forks, just pulling this apart, putting it back in with the veg and the gravy. I'm gonna start dribbling soon. This is the stuff that keeps people up at night, worrying about how it's cooking. And this is the absolute cheap, easy way of cooking it and getting a nice tender result with what is a really delicious cut of meat. So once I've got that beef just shredded like this, I'm gonna try and get everything I can from this. All I'm gonna do is stir that through, and we've got a delicious stew here. Brisket, veg. Oh mate. Right, I'm gonna have a wee check for seasoning. Let's see where we're at. I've said it once, Aidan, I'll say it again, but I think I might be some sort of culinary genius. So beef brisket with veg. Enjoy, folks. That's a wrap. Right, folks, that was brisket. Thanks for watching. Remember, please comment, like, subscribe. We'll keep you in the loop for future stuff. Thank you. Bye.